Hello guys, Richard here, and welcome to a very interesting theory video, as I think I might have cracked the entirety of the Fortnite storyline. Alright, let's get into it. Alright guys, so before I just get into the recap, please make sure to like the video and subscribe, and comment down below what you think of my theory, as it has taken me a while. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So, Season 3, we had the Meteor Visitor, and then the Visitor first introduced us to the Rifts, right? Then in Season 4, no sorry, Season 3, at the end of Season 3 bought the, you know what I mean, Season 3 bought the Visitor, and then that was Season 4. Sorry, I'm trying to go through this quick, I've already recorded it once, but it didn't, my mic wasn't on. I'm trying to go through it quick. So Season 4, that's happened. Season 5, Kevin the Cube was born through the Rifts, and then ran them out creating the gateways, which are the runes, gateways to the in-between. Which then in Season 6, he came about again to gather the power. But then that was too much power, so he exploited in on himself, creating the butterfly event, which then first introduced us to the in-between. Then in Season 6, that was Season 6, I'm getting confused now, I've already done it once. And then in Season 7, we got the Ice King and the Prisoner. The Prisoner was the Fire King, and then he created the volcano in Season 8, and he shot a volcano eruption part, debris thing, at the Ice King's castle, which I think was done on purpose to release Catus, which I'm not sure if Catus was trapped or contained there. So trapped by the Ice King to use as a weapon maybe, or contained for the Ice King to be like keeping Catus from doing anything bad. But I don't think that's the case. I think it was trapped there. So the Fire King released Catus, and then in Season 9 we had the mech versus robot fight. I just said mech versus monster fight, which resulted in Singularity, who was piloting the mech, to resort into the last thing she could do to save the island from Catus, was to break open the vault, what we got introduced to in the Involving event, and absorb some of the 0 Point's energy to defeat Catus. This left the 0 Point exposed for Season X, which throughout that event, which then caused weird like loops, which basically looped the loop, if that makes sense. It caused us to be sent to not an alternate map as some people thought, just stuff to be weirded. As an example of current season, stuff from the old map is coming back to this map, but that doesn't mean it's like a different value. Stuff can change within the map basically, and 0 Point rearranged it. This was the first example of the 0 Point rearranging the map. Because it rearranged the Dusty Depot like warehouses. And then the meteor, which brought the second meteor, which brought the scientist, continued what the Visitor was doing with the rocket. He used the mech parts to build his rocket. That's why the Visitor scientist was examining the mechs. Which, still not sure who sent the mechs, but they were sent anyway. And then in the end event, I think it was the end. Yeah, the end event. There were 7 rockets, and they basically they created loads of rifts to unfreeze time, absorbing the meteor, but then redirecting it over the 0 Point. And now in the Visitor's or scientists, yeah, it was a Visitor. In the Visitor's recordings, he stated that once looped would I be just as muted as the others. This is implying that none of the Fortnite people are capable of speaking until Chapter 2, where slightly of the loop was broken. Anyway, and he also stated a few other stuff, which I will play that recording for you now so you know what I'm on about.
What the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching, but it must be done or we lose the bridge forever. I speculate that no one calculated the formation of the island, that interdimensional matter collisions would resolve rather than push. Now that I witnessed it firsthand, it's obvious that pinching alone made it inevitable. When I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others? No matter, it seems the lengthy precautions worked. The theorem was a success. You arrived outside the loop at the exact moment of expansion. This effectively paused the singularity, giving us time to create the devices needed to synchronize the junction. What I didn't factor was that the only way to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Thus this hasty and primitive recording, and why now I, find myself looped. Activate the beacon at precisely the moment this timer reaches nothing. The 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end.
Alright, so I've also recapped myself on what the tape said, and I'm going to replay the first part of it for you guys, and then I'm going to break it down in parts to make it easier.
What the 7 of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching, but it must be done or we lose the bridge.
Alright, so at first he says what the seven of us are attempting is very risky. I suspect they are not the only ones watching, and by this I'm assuming he means IO, Jonesy's group. Like they're not the only ones watching the loop. Quick theory I just thought of. Could that be referring to Galactus? Or just referring to the fact that there's stuff outside the loop? As Galactus has been confirmed that Galactus was on his way since that event, the end event. That's what first drawing him in. So that could be what that meant. But then he says, but it must be done or we lose the bridge forever. And by this, he meant the bridge what IO have in their, building. Which has been linked. Apparently, we're going to get something in game. I'm not sure though. So the bridge is what Jones is using to bring the hunters from different realities to the loop and the island. Now, I'll discuss it later on, but I have a little theory about the bridge. But I'll discuss that later on within the Chapter 2 Season 5 stuff. Alright, I'm going to play the next part now for you.
I speculate that no one calculated the formation of the island, that interdimensional matter collisions would resolve rather than push. Now that I witnessed it firsthand, it's obvious that pinching alone made it inevitable. When I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others?
So here he states that he speculated no one calculated the formation of the island. So this is basically Donald Mustard said it was the reason why they changed the island is to add more vehicles and stuff. So this implies that the island was just made in a haste, maybe to trap someone by IO within the loop, just because the loop needed somewhere for people to go. And then he says that interdimensional matter collisions would resolve rather than push. Now, this is probably referring to that if something bad happens to the 0 point, it will fix itself basically as it reformed the island into Chapter 2 island, and it basically reformed itself if it's instead of it pushing away. Then he says, now that I witnessed it firsthand, it's obvious that pinching alone made it inevitable. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this is meaning to or about. But then he says, when I hear this again, will it help me remember? Or once looped, will I be just as muted as the others? Now, this is referring to the fact that no one on the island can speak up until Chapter 2. As in Chapter 2, we got the henchmen and the bosses just doing their groans. And then we saw Jonesy outside the loop speaking. And I think the reason for NPCs speaking is because they're not really speaking text, they're text in a way. But because they're from outside the loop, maybe Jonesy's allowing them to speak and retain their memories. Because he also says that will it help him remember. So anyone who's looped doesn't have their memories. They lose their memories and they just keep playing out the loop again and again and again and again and again.
No matter. It seems the lengthy precautions worked. The theorem was a success. You arrived outside the loop at the exact moment of expansion. This effectively paused the singularity.
Alright, this part, this next part, like what I just played, I still haven't managed to understand it fully, but this is what I think of it. He says, no matter, it seems the lengthy precautions worked. The theorem was a success. You arrived outside the loop at the exact moment of expansion. Now, does he mean that when they broke the loop when they entered chapter 1 basically, that was the moment of expansion and they got themselves back outside the loop? I don't know. Um, and then he says, this effectively paused the singularity. This is referring to how in Season X time was paused and everything like that. So that's what that was referring to, I'm believing too, because the singularity is the loop, pretty much.
This effectively paused the singularity, giving us time to create the devices needed to synchronize the junction. What I didn't factor was that the only way to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Thus this hasty and primitive recording, and why now I, find myself looped.
So in that clip I just showed, she says that it paused the singularity. Yeah, I just said that, giving us time to create the devices needed to synchronize the junction. This is the devices he put all over the map. But then he put what I didn't factor, that the only way was to trigger the device was from within the loop itself. Now this is an interesting thing, I personally think, as he doesn't say devices, the device. Could this be referring to Chapter 2, Season 2 device event? I don't know, but it could just be referring to the Season X Rift beacons. And then he put lost this hasty and pivoting recording, which that's just sends recording. And then he put and now why I find myself looped. So he had to enter the loop, and then he became looped. But if he's been looped, and if there's a snapshot of everyone who goes in the loop, could that be the other 7 maybe? Like, that's why there's 7 of him. He's had to go into the loop 7 times. That's what I personally think.
Find myself looped. Activate the beacon at precisely the moment this timer reaches nothing. The 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end.
He then goes on to say, activate the beacon at precisely the moment this timer reaches nothing. I'm assuming that's just referring to the event timer, probably. As that was the only timer, really. And then he says that the 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end. And that's the end of the recording. Now, if I'm assuming he means people who have been watching the loop, IO, it will be the end. Wait. No, it can't be IO because I don't want the loop to continue. So there's obviously like a third group who have told the visitor this stuff. Maybe it will be the end. That's when the visitor was trying to stop the loop in season X, but he failed miserably because the loop continued. And this then caused chapter 2 to begin and the map to reform itself. That's why Pleasant Park, Salty Springs, Retail Row were still on the map. And then there wasn't much storyline content in chapter 2 season 1. It was just about exploring a new island and stuff like that. And then in season 2 we were introduced to Midas, and we found out that he retained his memories. This could mean he may be one of the 7, but he could just be someone who's really smart. Then he created a device event because he realized that the one thing that was constant in all of the loops was the storm. So he created the devices event needed, and then he tried to break the storm, but he failed. Then in season 3, the map was flooded because the precaution what Jonesy had to take, because we were introduced to IO at this point, but we didn't know what they were called. And the precautions that he had to take was to flood the storm, and then when they fixed the storm, the flood broke out the storm and 2 on the map. Then we were introduced to the owner and the other person, space person, who created a rift above Catty Corner, which was enough to let Galactus know where exactly the island was. Then in season 4, we had to build up the fight to Galactus, where Galactus tore the 0 point from the ground underneath the Authority, well, the ruins, and then this caused, like, then the Galactus event we fought Galactus. There was a few Easter eggs in there, like Travis Scott Astroworld, if you looked. But then we had the Galactus event, and then we were showing Jonesy waking up from a nightmare or whatever. And I'm going to play the Season 5 trailer and Battle Pass trailer for you, because that's where we're currently at.
They did it! We're still here!
Yeah, but the 0 point is exposed. You have to go in.
Oh, come on. Last thing we need is another snapshot of me inside the loop.
No. The last thing we need is someone escaping the loop. You need to get in there and fix it.
Understood, ma'am. I'm on it.
And do not draw the attention of the 7.
I just need to stabilize the 0 point and reseal the bridge, but not let anyone escape. Easy, right? Okay. Locate the best hunters across all realities.
Signatures triangulated and defined. Execute.
This better work.
First thing I would like to mention is the recording. His boss says don't draw the attention of the 7, but he didn't hear it, so 7 are probably coming back this season. And then it zooms in on the not the agency but agency themed building, which could be where they are, and that's what could be coming to the map at some point. And then it shows us the room with the bridge. Now the panels are like the cube's substance, basically. They're like the same thing. Ooh, my bad. I was just scrolling back through the video. This is I don't see anyone else pointing this out, mainly because I think it's wrong, but not sure. Notice how the 0 point is so far down, and there's crystals coming off the side, like like mini versions of the crystals we have in game. I think the 0 point used to be like held by the panels, but then when Galactus tore it out, it pulled it basically. And this brings up the fact: is this base underneath the island? And I think no, because mainly you can see something blue above the bridge, but that's probably water. Maybe they could very well be underground, but probably not under the island, because that wouldn't be their floor, if that makes sense. And I think because that's a bridge, he just teleported. Like, it's just a view thing. But it got when Galactus pulled it out of the island, it went through the bridge. The 0 point itself went through the bridge and went into the island. That's what I personally think. And then Jonesy jumps in to go into the loop himself. And I personally think what will happen now is, so throughout season 5 we're going to get more and more of like the arms, if you will, of the 0 point, and that will cause the 0 point to lose some of its power, maybe like not be as powerful because it's like spreading its power and it's not all concentrated. This could effectively cause the 7 to manage to just slip inside the loop at one point, maybe while one of those portals is opening. We don't see them opening game, but maybe while it's spreading, the 7 could slip in. And we do know 3 members of the 7s the scientist, visitor, and paradigm, and maybe singularity as the fourth. Not sure though. Um, so what was I gonna say? Just let me look. Okay. Um, so what I think the seven will come in. The seven will maybe have a fight over the 0 point with IO. One side will obviously lose if they do, and this will then the side that wins will be in control of the bridge. Maybe. I personally think IO, which also stands for Imagined Order, that's what it stands for. Maybe they'll probably win control of the 0 point and keep in control of it, and they'll keep the bridge. But something big could happen. Now, I don't think we're going to get a new map because we're only 5 seasons into this chapter. But I do think the map will be changed a lot, maybe. Like, I have heard that around somewhere, and I do believe that. Now, as for Jonesy, I think he will be stuck inside the loop. Again. Like, he'll stay stuck. He'll remain inside the loop, maybe. That will be, like, a consequence of it. And that is also why IO are probably, like, the IO stuff's underground, maybe, as well, because they are underground. Like, so what I think will happen then in, like, long term is 0 point will probably be contained again until maybe like season 8, 9X again. But like I don't because if it took only 2 seasons worth of time for the 0 point to become unstable because it wasn't contained, 5 seasons it will make it really unstable. So I think it will have to be contained in some way. Not sure either by the 7 or IO. But it seems like IO have control over the 0 point. They almost lost it with the 7 in the end of them in season X. The 7 aren't trying to control it. As you might have seen, the 7 are literally trying to contain it and break the loop. Because, if I just flip back, he says the 0 point, as I've already said this, but he says the 0 point must be contained once more. If they are correct, it will be the end. I did go through that briefly in the next clip, but yeah, it's basically stating that it will be the end of the loop, and they're trying to get rid of the loop and free everyone from the loop. But IO obviously trying to keep them in the loop. Not sure who's good, who's bad. No idea. But I do really hope you have enjoyed this video. If I have any more theories, I'm going to create them straight away. As I'll let you into a little secret. I'll be trying to go to sleep, right? My brain will just think of theories. I'll write them down, and I'll just like, oh, that's a good theory. But then sometimes I'll be like, oh wow, that's a stupid theory. So if I do have a good theory, I'll do make sure to make a video on it and an update. But that is what I think so far. We don't know much about season 5 yet, as it started right before Christmas, which is when Epic Games employees have their 3-week break. So haven't been much storyline content. But yeah, that is what I think so far. When we get more storyline content, I will be sure to make another video on it, if I can think of more theories. Sorry, I just got a message on my phone. But yeah, make sure if you did enjoy this and if you found it interesting, the recap, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more videos from me and theories, because I want to do more of them. And make sure to comment down below your own theories as well, and I might make a video of other people's theories, just so people know it. Like, if you comment on the video of what you think, I might make a video of discussing all them. Maybe my opinion, I'm not sure, but yeah, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.